Hello everyone, this is Allegedly Caleb, and today we're back with another WDS Panzer Campaigns Game of the Week, Stalingrad 42. So, this week, WDS decided to release Stalingrad 42 as their Game of the Week from the Panzer Campaigns series. We will be fighting through the streets of Stalingrad. So, all of these scenarios, there's 86 different scenarios to play through. All of these scenarios are painstakingly put together, researched, all of the orders of battle, all of the table of equipment, everything you could want in a historical war game. And there's so many different sizes as well. You've got big turn 70 turn games, you've got little 8 turn games, you've got 306 turn games, and look, this size is just considered large. Let's sort it by length. I guess large is the largest one in this game, but WDS can get really big. These scenarios can get up past 300 turns. That's the biggest one you'll get in this game, and that is more than enough, especially because there's a bunch of different scenarios. So let's take a look at them from the different versions of the campaign games. So first you have a bunch of different versions of the Uranus SS Rescue, Uranus Retreat, and then just Uranus. So you can see these are all different alternate campaigns, because this date right here, 11/19, that's the date that it takes place on. You got variant 1, which I believe this is the most updated version of the scenario. And then you've got all the way down to here, which are all these different versions of the scenario with a bunch of different factors, different forces included, but I believe this is the historical one. Then so are these. One of them is head to head. You've got November 19th to December 19th. Everything else below here will be November 19th to December 19th. Anyway, let's start looking at the actual scenarios. So like I said, this is one of the historical scenarios. Here's the Master Stalingrad map. You can see pretty big map. You've got Stalingrad right here. And this is Operation Uranus, which is when the Soviets essentially surrounded the Germans in Stalingrad and cut them off. So you're going to see a lot of famous names here: Gumrak Airfield, Pedominink Airfield. All of these different airfields were held on to for a long time by the Germans. We've got a bunch of different troop types. Red is Soviet guards. The rest of these Soviet units are just regular troops. Although, what are these guys with the blue line? Naval infantry. Okay, so they must be from a naval infantry brigade. Cool. You've even got some tanks. You've got, oh, here's some of their tanks. T-34s, T-70s, even little old BA-64s. But you've also got the Romanians, infamous Romanians, holding the flank, or flanks plural. That's where the Germans broke, or that's where the Soviets broke through. Maybe assigning the flanks to your allies who aren't going to fight as hard as you is not the best idea. But anyway. Then you've got the streets of Stalingrad. And look, everything is basically churned up rubble here. Bunkers. It's very hard to move into any of these objectives. And then just tons and tons and tons of troops everywhere else. Got some 88s, or those aren't 88s. I saw the anti-aircraft symbol. Those are just little 20 millimeters. Anyway, you can see huge amounts of units. So another flak unit, infantry unit. At this point in the war, there weren't too many infantry flak units yet. Some flak panzers, those are pretty rare too. Here's some 88s. Anyway, don't want to stick and look at one map for too long, because we've still got a lot to go through in this game. But anyway, you can get pushed back all the way to the Don. At least the Don back here. Because I guess they were technically on the Don. But the Soviets had a little bit of a foothold on the other side of the Don. Anyway, massive, massive game. Here's the VP so far. So as of now, Russians have a major defeat. To get a victory, they have to have 3,200 victory points. That's for a minor victory. We can even look at the orders of battle. Here's the strengths. It's all organized by army, front, division, regiment, battalion, and so on. So you can find whatever unit you want using that. You got your different dialogues for units that are arriving. Got your command report, which gives you a bunch of helpful information. Weather. Yeah, this is quite a monster game. All right, now let's look at some of the other ones. So again, that was variant. That was the variant 1. And then you've got more. I see. So just Operation Uranus and then Operation Uranus Alt. I see. One of them, these ones are intended for head-to-head play. These ones are not. So they must help the AI in some way. Then you've got Uranus Retreat from Stalingrad. Another one intended for head-to-head. Okay, so this one right here essentially changes the victory point allocation to mimic as if Hitler had not forced the Sixth Army to hold on to the west bank of the Volga. So essentially it's letting the Germans withdraw instead of cling for every victory point they can get. And then, so that's why it's called Uranus Retreat. Interesting. And you got the head-to-head version and the non-head-to-head version. Oh, here's another interesting one. Just reading it. Okay, so this one's mimicking if there were some SS units. Here it is. This one is if there were some SS units that came in to rescue the Germans. Let's see if there's anything on the map already here. Is that what all these are? Oh, yeah. Oh, boy, indeed. That is exactly what these are. You got SS formations down here. including Tigers. And again, that's Tigers in 1942. So they are going to be scary. Scarier than Tigers usually are. SS units were one of the few German units that had Tigers embedded into them, at least the divisions. Yeah, and at this point in the war, the Germans had started giving the SS divisions, specifically the SS Panzer divisions, all of the best equipment that they had available. Yeah, here's some more. Excuse me. Ugh. Do they have Tigers? Does not appear that division does. But you can see there's basically an entire Panzer army ready to come to the rescue of the Germans in Stalingrad in this map. All right, let's take a look at some of the other scenarios. Okay, so that's the SS ones, or that's the Stalingrad Master Games. Then you've got December 12th. This will be a bit after, about a month after those other scenarios we were just looking at. Operation Winter Storm. Let's see what this one is. Okay. Looks like it's just yeah, it's just a Soviet offensive. Or no, maybe a German? Yeah, a German offensive. Maybe to try and relieve the Stalingrad pocket. Let's see what else there is. Yeah, looks like it. They're trying to relieve the Stalingrad pocket there. Here's another one. Ring. This is going to be them closing down the Stalingrad ring, I bet. And that is exactly what it is. So you can see the Germans are cut off from their allies. Same thing with these Romanians. And at this point, they are going to be done in by the Soviets. Let's see where the army command is. Here they are. Wait, no, that's the... Here they are. This is where Paulus is. Who are these guys? NKDV. NKDV. That's why they're that dark brown color. Interesting. KV-1s everywhere. I read a couple of books on Stalingrad from like actual soldiers on the ground's perspective. There's this one that I can't remember what it's called, but it's a really interesting account from a German officer who survived the war, even past he survived the pocket. He was one of the soldiers captured, and he somehow survived the camp that he was sent to after as well. And eventually he was returned like a long time after the war ended. His account was really interesting. But anyway, that's an interesting scenario. 70 turns. This looks like an interesting one to play as the Soviets. Against the AI, I mean. Okay. Any others? Dawn Bend. Oh, here's another 70 turn game. Looks like it's Germans, maybe again, trying to relieve Stalingrad. Yeah, maybe it's just a bigger version of the previous, of that other scenario we looked at. So the map is definitely bigger. There's Dawn Bend. Smaller version of the Pocket. Oh, wait, this isn't the Pocket. This just must be the initial penetration. Yeah, that's what this is. This is the initial penetration. Just the first 45 turns. Basically what you're trying to do as the Soviets in this one is encircle the Germans. Any others? Also, look at that. That's funny. Bunch more scenarios still. Got some 30 turn games. Much more manageable. Don't have to spend a year playing those. And we'll just take a look. Here's a little starting scenario. There's a PDF that comes with these scenarios that helps you learn the game. And it'll walk you through the game turn by turn. Anything else? Here. My laptop's nightlight turned on. Let's turn that off. Some other, actually, okay, no, there's plenty of little turns you can play. See, little games with small amount of turns. One like this is interesting. th Panzer Division versus 44th Motorized Rifle Brigade and the 1st Tank Corps HQ. Interesting. Anyway, let's take a look at a couple more. Okay. Here's Stalingrad. Look, the city's not destroyed yet. So I was asking myself, I was wondering, all right, what would this city look like before it was destroyed? Well, there you go. That's what it would look like. So this is a cool one. This is leading up to Stalingrad. You're basically trying to, yeah, get to the city. Maybe cut off some Soviets while you're at it. Nice. Yeah, that's back in August. The very first scenario, the Dawn Bend. Yeah, so I said this was one where you're trying to relieve Stalingrad. That's not true. This is one where you're trying to get past the Don. That's why the Don objective, well, I guess it's not worth that many points. But you can see that there are victory points near, it seems like, most of the bridges. And actually, you don't need that many points in this one to win. So it looks like, yeah, you're just trying to cross the Don. Anyway, everyone, yeah, that is some of the interesting scenarios you get to play if you purchase this game. It's currently on sale for about 30 US dollars, 25% off. So whatever your local currency is, it's 25% off. But anyway, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this game and this playthrough. Not playthrough, I didn't really play the game. But I hope you did enjoy the look at all the different scenarios I took you through. Hopefully it'll help you make a decision on whether you want to buy the game. But anyway, everyone, thank you for watching. I hope you had a good one, and I will catch you later.